Hello once again, Bakugan Brawlers. So here's the thing. Painting Bakugan. There's rules around it. You can do it so long as you don't change the attribute. And I think it's really cool. The problem is I don't have any of the materials to actually paint Bakugan. And to get the materials would be a lot of money. Luckily, Zach from Hive State decided to send me one and paint a Garganoid for me, and it's actually really cool. And as more of a thank you on my end for doing this, I said, hey, if you make a video painting it, showing everyone your skills, I'll put it on my channel. And that's what this is. So let's check out Zach's expert painting skills.
Hello and welcome, I'm Zach from Hive State Bakugan, and today we're going to be doing a custom paint job. Now last time we did Pegatrix, today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to be doing a Garganoid Ultra. Now there are a couple rules you have to follow whenever you're customizing your Bakugan, and one of those, and the main thing, is you can't change the Bakugan's attribute. We're going to break that rule today. What we're going to do is we're going to take the Chaos Garganoid Ultra and paint it like a Darkest Garganoid Ultra because I'm impatient and didn't want to wait for the actual Darkest to release. So this is what you'll get. But let's go over to the table and let's start. Alright, so first things first, this is the Chaos Garganoid. We're going to be opening and I guess almost converting, painting to a new color. So let's just go ahead and get that opened. Like I was saying, this is Chaos, and it needs to not be Chaos. We're going to turn this into the darkest one. So the way that we're going to do that is I'm going to use this spray paint right here. Army Painter, I really like it. It's just their matte black. I think it does a rather good job. Now, something you will notice about spraying something like this, where there are so many moving parts, you will find little pieces like right here where the original color is going to show through. But that's something that detail work will help fix, so we're not going to worry about it too much right now. However, I am going to give a little word of warning if you ever decide to do one of these yourself. Doing a full custom like we're doing for this piece right here, well, it can make some of the pieces sticky almost. Not like tacky sticky, but to the point where the Bakugan doesn't want to open, and that is something to keep in mind. There's some things you can do on the very last step that'll help with this, but if you find that your Bakugan's not wanting to open during step 1, don't worry too much. That's a very last thing that we'll fix. So let's tilt the camera and let's actually start the painting. So to start, we're using 3 different shades of blue, all from the Vallejo range, just simply because I really like the range. It's the model color, not game color. There's not really much of a difference between the two other than types of color. But the reason I'm using 3 different types of blue is I wanted to do a gradient. To start that, I'm painting with the dark blue pretty much just to block in the colors and where I want them to go. So I did the undercoat of the wings. I also did the eyes and a couple other details. And I decided to stop because, well, I didn't want to make it look too aqueous. This is a darkest that we're painting. But I did need to do the neon blue. So, just the underbelly of the wings sounds good. I also started here. You'll see I'm doing gray. This gray is strictly just to show where I want the silver to end up going. The color scheme that we'll be doing for this Bakugan is mostly black and silver, although truthfully the way I did the wings closed, it looks more blue than silver, but nevertheless. Blocking in colors like this, I talked about it a bit in the first Bakugan paint video that I did, but silver and any metallic really is a type of paint you want to really pay attention to the color you're putting underneath it. With the silver that I use, which we'll see it here in a bit, I believe it's a Citadel silver. I think it's Stormhost maybe. Let's see. It is Stormhost silver, yes. In my personal opinion, it looks better with a gray undercoat, but that's just me. I did try to go a little bit heavier on the silver than I originally planned, just to dial back the blue, and I think I also had to, well, I had to leave quite a bit of the black in there as well, just to keep it that dark tone. Here's a little bit of a something different I'm doing. What I'm doing here is actually working a hint more on the gradient, but I believe I started with a slight wash of Nuln oil, and then I just started building up from the dark blue that I originally did, and then I did a mixture 50-50 of dark blue and medium blue, and I believe that's what you're seeing here. Then I just did a complete coat of the medium blue, and then I worked 50-50 medium blue and light blue, but we actually haven't gotten there yet. The medium blue itself, something that I ended up doing was I liked the pattern it was putting down whenever I was painting this part right here with the wings and all of that, but it felt a little too harsh of a transition. So I would, on occasions, put it on, rinse my brush, and slowly take it off in the reverse direction. Sometimes I would even take a little bit of the previous color and kind of swipe over it to smooth out the transition a little better. Once I got to a little bit more of the edges, I didn't do that quite as much because I wanted that harsher light blue at the edge, like I'm doing right there. But all in all, I think the transition turned out all right. No complaints from me. There's actually a part, you can kind of see me fix it here in just a little bit, or maybe I've already have. It's just brief, but I went too far with the blue, so I went back and muddled it up so I wouldn't remember, or I wouldn't forget to fix that in the final few steps. Here's a little more blocking in the gray. I went ahead and started with the Stormhost Silver from Citadel that I was talking about earlier, but I needed to go ahead and, well, get the gray tones going on the chains on the wings of the Garganoid. I believe they're chains. That's the way it looks to me, at least. So once all of these were fully blocked in, that's whenever I move on to, well, starting the process of silver. There we go. It's the little pieces like this that do take a little more focus to do, and whenever I'm filming this, I do not have a little sky rig or whatever it's called. So this is me awkwardly like huddling over the camera, trying to paint and see what I'm doing and make my arm and not fall asleep leaning on this piece of metal that it was on that you don't see on camera because, you know, behind the scenes. But all in all, I think it turns out pretty decent. There's a little bit of work that's done off camera. Just, it's everything you've already seen, but it's just cleaning up the lines just a little bit. This was actually a bit of a pain up under his legs. Bakugan are things that open and close, and I know I brushed on this earlier, but if you go too heavy with paint on certain parts, the Bakugan won't want to open unless you scrape away paint, and that defeats the purpose, so I have to be super careful on some of these pieces and leave out some details I would like to do simply because the Bakugan won't open if I add them. So you'd be surprised how thick a thin layer of paint is. Here's where I'm going in with a wash. Now, this is pretty much like almost ink, but it's still an acrylic. This is Nuln oil from Citadel as well. This stuff is a miracle worker, to be blatantly honest. What I did is I went over and gave some of the crevices in the metal part a bit of a dark shade, and then I also tried to get a little bit of a shade on other parts of the silver as well, so I could go back and brighten them up. And once I got all of the silver bright and where it needs to be, I went in and placed black. This is just, I believe it's another Vallejo brand. It is just flat black. There's nothing special to it. However, there was something I had planned on doing, but realized I had no more of a specific paint that I needed. Here soon you'll see what I did to kind of weasel my way around that. But all in all, I think it works. The original plan was to use a gloss black on certain parts of this piece to give it a little more depth and detail and make some of the black pieces stand out from some of the other black pieces, but I didn't really have my glossy black. So instead I used basically it's just a gloss varnish. Again, Vallejo brand, because I use that brand a little too much. But that gloss varnish used everything that I needed it to do. The parts that I wanted to keep shiny, it brought up in detail and kept a little shinier than the others. You can see it a hint better on camera than you can, or a hint better in person than you can on camera. This is white. What I'm doing here is I'm taking white to highlight the silver in just the brightest of places, or the highest of places. In my opinion, these little streaks of white, it looks best in non-metallic metals, which is a whole video in itself. But, actually here's where I'm doing gloss varnish, but I'm talking about white. White on silver really does make a highlight look real. It makes it shine. It's a bit finicky in some places depending on how you do it, but it's a wonderful technique to do. You see it more on the other video, but that's it. Once everything was cleaned up, you can see this is the final product. All in all, I have to say I'm pretty content.
I think this is just so cool. Thank you, Zach, for making this and putting the time into it. I know it took you a long time, and this is just such a cool. I don't know where to put. I want to display this somewhere in the background of my videos. I don't know how yet, but I'll figure something out. So thank you, and thank you for watching this video. If you want to check out more of Hive State Bakugan, there's a link to his channel in the description below. Stay beautiful and keep playing.